The storm arrived faster than anyone expected across the mountains near Colorado, where thick snow buried hiking trails beneath layers of ice while freezing wind screamed through the pine forests, and 12-year-old Noah Bennett sat trembling beneath a rocky ledge miles away from the nearest road because what had started as a short family hiking trip that afternoon turned into a nightmare after Noah wandered off the trail while trying to find his missing backpack, and within minutes the mountain swallowed him completely as heavy snowfall erased footprints and darkness consumed the valley long before rescue teams could organize a proper search, while his parents stood helpless beside emergency vehicles praying someone would find their son before the freezing temperatures did, because weather officials warned conditions would drop below 10 degrees overnight, making survival nearly impossible for a child trapped alone in the wilderness, wearing only a damp hoodie and thin hiking boots, while dozens of volunteers searched through dangerous terrain with flashlights and thermal drones. But hour after hour passed without a single sign of Noah until sometime after midnight, when former K-9 officer Mason Cole arrived at the command post with a retired German Shepherd named Shadow walking slowly beside him, because Shadow was nearly 11 years old now, with gray fur around his muzzle and scars from years spent working dangerous rescue missions before retirement forced him away from active duty after an injury to his back leg. But the moment Shadow heard Noah's frightened mother crying beside the emergency trucks, the old dog lifted his head sharply and stared toward the mountains as if something inside him awakened again, while Mason quietly explained to Sheriff Dana Reeves that Shadow no longer worked active searches because the cold and terrain could easily kill him in his condition. But before anyone could respond, the old German Shepherd suddenly pulled free from Mason's side and disappeared directly into the blizzard, causing several officers to shout in shock, while Mason immediately followed after him through deep snow, because despite his age, Shadow moved with desperate determination, crashing through frozen brush and icy ravines like a dog half his age, while the storm grew so violent that even experienced rescuers began turning back, fearing frostbite and avalanches. Yet Shadow refused to stop, and nearly 3 hours later Mason finally spotted the old dog standing beneath a collapsed pine tree, barking desperately into the darkness, where a small shaking figure lay buried beneath snow and branches because Noah had fallen into a narrow ravine and injured his ankle, leaving him trapped alone in the freezing storm for nearly 8 hours, while Shadow immediately climbed down beside the terrified boy, pressing his body tightly against him as Noah cried weakly into the dog's fur, because the child truly believed he was going to die alone in the mountains until the retired K-9 reached him. And even after Mason radioed the rescue team, Shadow refused to leave Noah's side for a single second, remaining curled protectively around the freezing child while snow covered both of them as temperatures continued falling dangerously low. And when rescuers finally arrived with stretchers, they found Noah clutching the old dog tightly, while Shadow's exhausted body shook violently from cold and fatigue, because the retired K-9 had spent hours using his remaining strength and body heat to keep the boy alive through the worst part of the storm. And later at the hospital, doctors confirmed Noah would not have survived much longer without immediate warmth, while Mason sat quietly beside Shadow at the veterinary clinic, where the exhausted dog received emergency treatment for hypothermia and severe exhaustion after the dangerous rescue mission, because despite his age and injuries, the old K-9 had willingly pushed his body beyond its limits for one final search. And days later, when Noah finally reunited with Shadow outside the clinic, the young boy wrapped his arms around the retired German Shepherd, crying openly, while the old dog leaned gently against him as if he already understood that sometimes heroes never truly retire, especially when someone out there still needs saving.